The morning sun beat down on the Arizona desert as Dr. Olivia Martinez wiped sweat from her brow, her eyes fixed on the strange rock fragment in her gloved hand. It was unlike anything she had seen before, dark with faint blue lines running through it like tiny rivers. "Ellen, come look at this," she called to her research partner. Dr. Alan Wright put down his equipment and walked over. His tall figure cast a shadow over Olivia, giving her brief relief from the sun. "What did you find?" he asked, bending down to get a better look. "I'm not sure. The readings are off the charts." Olivia handed him the handheld scanner. "The density is incredible, but it's surprisingly light." The two scientists had been studying a small crater for 3 days. A local farmer had reported seeing a bright flash in the night sky 2 weeks ago. What they found was not a normal meteorite. Back at the lab, Olivia placed the sample in the testing chamber. The results made her gasp. "Ellen, this material absorbs energy and then redistributes it. Look at these patterns." Alan's eyes widened as he watched the screen. When they fired a laser at the material, it didn't burn or melt. Instead, the energy moved through those blue lines, strengthening the whole structure. "Try a stronger beam," he suggested. Olivia increased the power. The same thing happened, but more dramatically. The material became stronger. "This defies everything we know about physics," she whispered. "No wonder it survived entering our atmosphere." Alan paced the lab, his mind racing. "Do you realize what this means? This could change everything we know about protective materials." "We need to run more tests," Olivia said, already setting up the next experiment. For the next week, they barely left the lab. They slept on cots, ate from vending machines, and tested the material in every way they could think of. They named it adaptite for its adaptive properties. One evening, as they watched adaptite absorb the impact from their strongest hydraulic press, Alan spoke the words Olivia had been avoiding. The military would pay billions for this. Olivia frowned. "I didn't become a scientist to build weapons, Alan." "Not weapons," he corrected. "Protection. Think about it. Armor that gets stronger when attacked. Shields for vehicles. Buildings that could withstand earthquakes or bombs." She had to admit he had a point. "Maybe you're right. This could save lives." Neither of them noticed the tiny drone hovering outside the lab window. No bigger than a hummingbird, it recorded everything through its advanced lens. The drone was not human technology. Miles above Earth's surface, a cloaked ship received the drone's transmission. Inside, a being with gray skin and large, dark eyes watched the scientists with great interest. "Send this to the Council immediately," the alien commander ordered. "The humans have done it. They've created what our scientists said was impossible." The message traveled faster than light across the stars to a massive station where representatives from 17 advanced civilizations gathered. When they viewed the recording, the chamber filled with murmurs of disbelief and concern. "It appears we can no longer delay," said the eldest council member, his voice echoing in the suddenly quiet room. "The humans must be contacted before they fully realize what they have discovered." A tall, reptilian being stood. "I disagree. They are still too primitive, too violent. This technology in their hands could destabilize the entire sector." "Nevertheless," the elder replied, "the protocols are clear. First contact must be initiated when a species discovers adaptive energy manipulation. Prepare the diplomatic vessel." Back on Earth, Olivia locked the lab and drove home, unaware that her discovery had just changed humanity's destiny forever. Tomorrow would bring more tests, more data, and more questions. She had no idea that very soon, she would have to explain her work to beings from beyond the stars. Captain Gregory Nelson stood at the window of his office at Earth Defense Fleet headquarters. The city lights sparkled below as night fell. His reflection stared back at him. A man in his 40s with short gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many conflicts. The door opened behind him. "Sir, you wanted to see me?" a young officer asked. Gregory turned. "Yes, Lieutenant." "Come in," and closed the door. He picked up a folder marked Top Secret and handed it to the officer. 3 hours ago, our Deep Space Monitoring Station detected an unknown object entering our solar system. It's slowing down, which means it's not natural. The lieutenant's eyes widened. Are you saying? Yes, Gregory cut in. We believe it's an alien spacecraft. The phone on his desk rang. Gregory answered, listened for a few moments, then hung up. His face had gone pale. They're broadcasting a message, he said quietly. In perfect English. They're requesting to speak with Earth's leaders about something called adaptite. 2 days later, Gregory found himself on a military transport plane with 2 civilians. Elizabeth Carter was a diplomat with years of international experience. Daniel Patel was a communications specialist who spoke 7 languages. Their destination was a secure facility where world leaders had gathered to respond to the alien message. Have you been briefed on the adaptite situation? Elizabeth asked Gregory as they flew. He nodded. The new armor material discovered in Arizona. I've seen the test videos. Incredible stuff. The aliens specifically mentioned it. Daniel said, looking nervous. How did they know about it? Gregory stared out the window. That's what worries me. When they landed, they were immediately taken to a conference room. The president greeted them. Captain Nelson, you've been selected to lead this mission, the president said. The aliens have invited a small delegation to board their ship. They claim they represent something called the Galactic Council. Elizabeth stepped forward. Mr. President, have they shown any hostile intent? No. In fact, they've been extremely polite. They say they've been watching us for decades and believe we're ready to join their community of civilizations. 3 hours later, Gregory and his team were on a helicopter heading to the designated meeting point in the desert. A small case containing samples of adaptite sat on Gregory's lap. I still can't believe this is happening, Daniel whispered as they approached the landing zone. Then they saw it. Hovering silently about 50 feet above the ground was a silver craft shaped like a perfect disc. It was at least 300 feet across with no visible engines or windows. Remember the protocol, Gregory told his team as the helicopter landed. No sudden movements. Follow my lead. They stepped out onto the sand. A beam of blue light shot down from the center of the craft to the ground about 30 feet from them. I think that's an invitation, Elizabeth said. Gregory took a deep breath and walked forward. His team followed. As they stepped into the light, he felt a strange tingling sensation all over his body. It's scanning us, Daniel said, looking at his handheld device. Suddenly, they began to rise. The ground fell away below them as they floated upward into the ship. Inside, they found themselves in a circular room with white walls that seemed to glow from within. The air smelled clean, like after a rainstorm. A door slid open, and 3 beings entered. 2 were tall and thin with gray skin and large eyes, similar to what humans had imagined aliens might look like. The third was completely different, blue-skinned with 4 arms and a face that reminded Gregory of an octopus. Welcome, humans, the blue being said in perfect English, though its mouth didn't move. I am Ambassador Zorn of the Galactic Council. We have much to discuss about your remarkable discovery. Gregory stepped forward. We come in peace and with open minds. As do we, Zorn replied. But not all council members share my optimism about your species. Your creation of adaptite has caused quite a stir among the 17 civilizations we represent. Why? Elizabeth asked. Because, Zorn said, you've achieved something that our most advanced races declared impossible. And that, humans, has left the council quite stunned. The human delegation stood in awe as they entered the massive council chamber. The room was circular with 17 raised platforms arranged in a half circle. Each platform held representatives from different alien species. Above them all was a giant dome showing the stars and planets of the galaxy in real time. Gregory felt small as he walked forward with Elizabeth and Daniel. Ambassador Zorn guided them to a platform in the center of the room. "The council will now hear the humans," announced a tall being with skin that shimmered like polished metal. Before Gregory could speak, a large reptilian creature stood up from one of the platforms. Its scales were dark red, and its yellow eyes narrowed as it looked down at the humans. "I am Senior Ambassador Krithar of the Vargan Empire," it said in a deep, rumbling voice, "and I object to these primitives joining our council." Murmurs filled the chamber. Elizabeth touched Gregory's arm, signaling him to stay calm. "The Vargans object on what grounds?" asked a small blue creature with large webbed hands. "On the grounds of their history," Krithar replied. A screen appeared in the air, showing images of human wars, weapons, and destruction. "These creatures fight among themselves constantly. They divide their own planet into territories and kill each other over resources and beliefs." Gregory stepped forward. "With respect, Ambassador Krithar, we've worked hard to overcome our violent past. Our world is more peaceful now than ever before. A few decades of relative peace does not erase thousands of years of violence," Krithar said. "And now they have created adaptite, a material that could make their weapons unstoppable." "Not weapons," Elizabeth interrupted. "Armor. Protection. There's a difference." A gentle voice came from another platform, where creatures that looked like tall, slender humanoids with light blue skin sat. "I am Counselor Liran of the Aquari. We are natural pacifists, yet even we see the difference between offensive and defensive technology." Krithar's tail slapped against his platform. "A shield in one cycle becomes a sword in the next. The humans cannot be trusted with such power." Daniel leaned close to Gregory and whispered, "They're afraid of us. That's why they're here." Gregory realized Daniel was right. The council hadn't come to welcome humans. They came because they feared what humans might become with adaptite protection. "May I address the council?" Gregory asked. The metallic being nodded. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, we understand your concerns. Humans have a complicated history. We've made mistakes, but we've also learned from them. We developed adaptite not to conquer, but to protect." Gregory opened the case he carried and lifted a small piece of the material. It caught the light, its blue lines glowing softly. "This discovery represents hope for us. Hope that we can explore the stars without fear. Hope that we can protect our world from natural disasters. Hope that life can be preserved rather than destroyed." Several council members leaned forward with interest. Even Krithar seemed to be listening carefully. "We don't come to you as conquerors," Gregory continued. "We come as students, eager to learn from your wisdom and experience." A very old-looking being with skin like rough bark stood slowly. "I am Elder Thrix of the Zinthi. I have observed many species join our community over the centuries. Each brings their own gifts and challenges." The elder pointed a gnarled finger at the humans. "These beings discovered adaptite through their own efforts, following a path of thinking different from our own. That alone deserves our attention." Krithar wasn't finished. "Different thinking can be dangerous. I propose a test before we allow humans further access to our knowledge." "What kind of test?" Elizabeth asked cautiously. Krithar's mouth formed what might have been a smile, though it looked more like a threat. "Your adaptite armor must face our weapons, all of our weapons, from all 17 council species." Gasps echoed around the chamber. Such a test had never been proposed before. "And if we pass?" Gregory asked. "Then you gain full council membership," Elder Thrix said before Krithar could answer. "And if we fail?" Daniel asked quietly. Krithar's yellow eyes gleamed. "Then you surrender all adaptite technology to council control. Forever." Gregory looked at Elizabeth and Daniel. They all knew this was no longer just about first contact. This was about humanity's future among the stars. Gregory paced the small room that had been given to the human delegation. His boots made soft sounds on the metallic floor as he walked back and forth. "We need to contact Earth," he said. "We can't agree to this test without proper authorization." Elizabeth nodded. typing quickly on the communication device the council had provided them. "I'm sending the details now. But Gregory, we both know what the answer will be." Daniel looked up from his notes. "They'll want us to take the challenge. The potential benefits of joining the council are too great to pass up." The door slid open and Ambassador Zorn entered. "Your message has been received by your leaders. They are sending additional personnel to assist with the test." "How long until they arrive?" Gregory asked. "They are already here," Zorn replied, stepping aside. Admiral Patricia Garcia walked in, followed by a team of 4 people carrying equipment cases. Patricia was a stern woman with short black hair and a reputation for getting things done. "Captain Nelson," she said with a nod. "The president briefed me on the situation. We're bringing the prototype." Gregory's eyes widened. "The full suit, it's only been tested in the lab." Patricia gestured to a man standing beside her. "Kevin Lawson designed it. He knows its capabilities better than anyone." Kevin was younger than Gregory expected, perhaps in his early 30s, with an eager expression. "Captain, the suit works. I've personally tested it under extreme conditions." "Not alien weapon conditions," Daniel pointed out. Kevin smiled. "That's why I volunteered to wear it during the demonstration." Elizabeth looked concerned. "That's too risky. We don't know what these weapons can do." "I trust my work," Kevin said simply. Over the next few hours, the humans set up the prototype in a large preparation room. The suit stood in the center, a sleek, dark gray exoskeleton with blue lines of adaptite running through it like veins. Kevin explained the suit's functions as he checked each component. The adaptite layer is sandwiched between conventional armor plates. When energy hits it, the material absorbs and redirects it through these channels, actually strengthening the molecular bonds. Admiral Garcia studied a tablet showing readings from the suit. "The Council has provided specs on their weapons. Some of these energy outputs are off the charts. The harder they hit, the stronger we get," Kevin said confidently. Ambassador Zorn returned to escort them to the testing chamber. As they walked through the station's corridors, Gregory noticed many alien species stopping to watch them pass. News of the human challenge had spread quickly. The testing chamber was enormous, a circular arena with observation decks all around it. The 17 council members sat in a special section, with Krithar the Vargan watching them intently. "The test will proceed in phases," Zorn explained, "starting with basic energy weapons and progressing to more advanced technology." Kevin began putting on the suit with help from his team. Each piece locked into place with a soft click. When he was fully equipped, he looked like a futuristic knight. "The helmet has communications built in," he told Gregory. "You'll be able to hear everything I do." Krithar approached, towering over the humans. "I have requested that my species' weapon be used last in the trials." "Why?" Admiral Garcia asked suspiciously. Krithar's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. "Our newest plasma cannon is quite impressive. It has helped us pacify 3 rebellious civilizations in the past century." Gregory didn't like the sound of that. "Kevin, are you sure about this?" Kevin's voice came through the helmet speaker. 100%, Captain. This is what we came here for." The chamber doors sealed shut. Alien technicians brought in the first weapon, a sleek rifle held by a being with 4 arms. "Phase 1 will begin in 30 seconds, announced a voice over the speakers. Kevin walked to the center of the arena and stood tall in his adaptite suit. The blue lines pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. "For Earth," he said quietly. Gregory, Elizabeth, and Daniel took their places in the observation area. Admiral Garcia stood beside them, her face tense but determined. "If he dies," she whispered, "Krithar will have his war whether he wants it or not." Gregory watched as the alien aimed its weapon at Kevin. The real test of humanity was about to begin. The first shot hit Kevin square in the chest. A bright green beam struck the armor and spread across the surface like water. The audience gasped, but Kevin didn't move. He remained standing, the blue lines on his suit glowing slightly brighter. Status. Gregory asked through the communication link. Barely felt it, Kevin replied. The suit absorbed 98% of the energy. The four-armed alien fired again, this time with the weapon set to maximum power. The beam was brighter, and the impact pushed Kevin back half a step. Again, the blue lines on the suit glowed brighter. All systems normal, Kevin reported. Energy absorption at 99%. The council members murmured among themselves. Even Crither leaned forward with interest. A group of small, insect-like aliens brought in the next weapon, a cannon that hummed with electricity. When they fired it, a bolt of blue lightning struck Kevin's suit. For a moment, the entire armor lit up like a star. That tickled, Kevin said, and Gregory could hear the smile in his voice. One by one, weapons from each council species were tested against the adaptite armor. Some fired energy beams, others shot solid projectiles at incredible speeds. One created a localized gravity well that should have crushed the suit. None caused any significant damage. After each hit, the blue lines on the suit glowed brighter, and the armor seemed to become more responsive to Kevin's movements. A team of thin, tall aliens with large heads approached Kevin between tests. One spoke in a high, musical voice. "May we scan the armor? We are Trelaxian scientists." Kevin looked to Gregory, who nodded. "These are the most scientifically advanced species in the council," Elizabeth whispered. "They're fascinated." The Trelaxians moved around Kevin, using devices that emitted soft peeps and glows. Their large eyes blinked rapidly as they studied the readings. "Impossible," one said. "The molecular structure is actually strengthening with each impact." Crither watched from his platform, his tail twitching with impatience. Finally, he stood. "Enough of these minor tests. Bring in the Vargan cannon." The chamber doors opened, and 6 Vargan soldiers rolled in a massive weapon. It was at least 15 feet long and glowed with an ominous purple light. The soldiers connected it to what looked like a power source. "Kevin, are you sure about this?" Gregory asked, concerned. "Too late to back out now," Kevin replied. "Besides, the suit is performing better than expected." Admiral Garcia checked her readings. "The energy levels that thing is putting out are off the charts. Our sensors can barely measure it." The council chamber fell silent as the Vargan weapon powered up. A high-pitched whine filled the air, and the purple glow intensified. "Target locked," announced a Vargan soldier. "Fire," Crither ordered. The cannon released a beam of concentrated purple energy that struck Kevin with such force that everyone expected him to be vaporized. The light was so bright that Gregory had to shield his eyes. When the light faded, everyone stared in shock. Kevin still stood there. Not only was he unharmed, but the adaptite armor now pulsed with energy. The blue lines had turned bright purple, the same color as the Vargan weapon. "I'm okay," Kevin said, sounding surprised himself. "Better than okay." The suit, it absorbed the energy completely. Power levels are at 300% of baseline. To demonstrate, Kevin jumped. He soared 30 feet into the air and landed gracefully, the suit moving with perfect precision. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some members stood and pointed. Others conferred urgently with their advisors. The Trelaxian scientists were frantically taking readings. Crither roared for silence. "This is not possible. No material can withstand the Vargan plasma cannon. It has destroyed battleships. The humans must have cheated." Elder Thrix raised a gnarled hand. "How would they cheat, Crither? We provided all specifications. We monitored the tests. We witnessed the results with our own eyes." "Then they had help," Crither insisted. "No primitive species could develop such technology independently." Elizabeth stepped forward. "Perhaps it's time we explained exactly how humans created the impossible armor." Gregory looked at her in surprise. This was not part of their plan. "Please enlighten us," Elder Thrix said. All eyes in the chamber turned to Elizabeth as she prepared to reveal the secret of adaptite. Elizabeth Carter stood calmly before the council. Kevin had removed his helmet but still wore the rest of the armor, which continued to pulse with purple energy. Honored council members, Elizabeth began, humans didn't receive help from anyone. We simply approached the problem differently. She activated a small device she carried, and holographic images appeared in the air. They showed various natural structures from Earth. This is spider silk, she explained, pointing to a magnified image of thin strands. Pound for pound, it's stronger than steel. This is the shell of an abalone, a sea creature. It can absorb impacts that would shatter much harder materials. The council members watched with interest as she showed more examples. Our planet is filled with life forms that have evolved amazing defensive adaptations. For thousands of years, humans have studied and learned from nature. Elizabeth changed the image to show a human cell. Even our own bodies have the ability to heal and become stronger after damage. A broken bone, once healed, is often stronger at the break point. Krithar snorted. Basic biology. What does this have to do with your armor? Everything, Elizabeth replied. While your civilizations focused on creating stronger and harder materials to resist force, we asked a different question. What if materials could adapt to attacks, like living things do? The Trilaxian scientists moved closer, their eyes wide with interest. Our researchers studied how energy flows through different structures. They found that certain arrangements of molecules could channel energy rather than just trying to block it. The hologram showed diagrams of the adaptite's molecular structure. The key insight was to create a material that becomes more ordered when energy hits it, instead of breaking apart. Each impact causes the molecules to align more perfectly, making the whole structure stronger. Kevin demonstrated by tapping his armored forearm. The blue lines pulsed in response. When the Vargan weapon hit me, the suit didn't just block the energy. It captured it, redirected it, and used it to strengthen its own structure. The Trilaxian lead scientist spoke up. This approach never occurred to us. We always sought to create barriers that energy couldn't penetrate. You instead created channels for the energy to follow. Elizabeth nodded. Exactly. Instead of fighting against the laws of physics, we worked with them. The elder Zinthi, who had been silent until now, slowly stood. The ancient silicon-based life form moved to the center of the chamber. I have lived for over 4,000 of your Earth years, the elder said in a deep, rumbling voice. I have witnessed many technological advances. What the humans have created is truly unique. The elder turned to the assembled council. I have searched our historical records. No race has ever developed similar technology independently. The humans have genuinely created something new. Gregory stepped forward to join Elizabeth. We didn't come here to challenge anyone. We came to learn and to share. Adaptite isn't a weapon. It's protection that could benefit everyone. Krithar was not ready to give up. How do we know they won't use this technology against us once they have access to our space travel capabilities? Admiral Garcia addressed the Vargan directly. We just demonstrated that our armor can withstand your most powerful weapon. If we wanted conflict, would we be standing here talking? The elder Zinthi raised a hand for silence. The terms were clear. The humans have passed the test. Their armor withstood all weapons, including the Vargan plasma cannon. The elder looked around the chamber. As is our tradition, we must now vote on accepting humanity as full members of the Galactic Council. One by one, lights appeared above each council member's platform. Blue for acceptance, red for rejection. The humans watched anxiously as the votes were cast. The Aquari voted blue immediately. The Trilaxians followed. Others took longer to decide. The Vargans were last, and to everyone's surprise, their light glowed blue as well. The vote is unanimous, the elder announced. Humanity is welcomed as the 18th member of the Galactic Council. Cheers erupted from the human delegation. Even Kevin, still in his armor, jumped with excitement, accidentally leaping 15 feet into the air in the powered suit. Elizabeth turned to Gregory, smiling. Now comes the interesting part, negotiating the terms of our membership. Gregory nodded, watching Krithar carefully. The Vargan had voted yes, but his yellow eyes still showed suspicion. "Something tells me this is just the beginning," Gregory said quietly. 1 week after the test, Captain Gregory Nelson stood before the full council again. This time, he wasn't alone. Leaders from Earth's major nations stood with him, along with scientists, engineers, and military personnel. "We accept membership in the Galactic Council," Gregory announced. "However, we propose some conditions." Crithar leaned forward on his platform. "Conditions? You are newcomers. You should be grateful for the opportunity to join us." Elder Thrix raised a hand. "Let us hear what the humans propose." Gregory nodded to Admiral Garcia, who stepped forward. "Earth will maintain exclusive manufacturing rights to adaptite technology," she said clearly. "But we are willing to share defensive applications with all council members." Murmurs filled the chamber. This was unexpected. "In return," Garcia continued, "we request access to council space travel technology. Our current methods are too slow for effective participation in galactic affairs." The Tralaxian representative spoke up. "Your terms are reasonable. The exchange of knowledge benefits all." Crithar wasn't satisfied. "And what guarantees do we have that humans won't use this technology to expand aggressively?" "The same guarantees you give us," Elizabeth responded. "Mutual respect and the understanding that cooperation serves us all better than conflict." After hours of discussion, the Council reached an agreement. Earth would share defensive applications of adaptite while keeping control of the manufacturing process. In exchange, humanity would receive access to faster-than-light travel technology and join Council peacekeeping efforts. 6 months later, Dr. Olivia Martinez stood in a massive new laboratory built near the original crater where she had found the meteorite fragment. Scientists from 7 different council species worked alongside human researchers. Each brought unique perspectives and approaches to the study of adaptive materials. Dr. Martinez, called a Tralaxian scientist, "We've successfully integrated adaptite with our phase shift technology. The test results are remarkable." Olivia smiled as she looked at the data. What had started as a strange rock in the desert had changed humanity's future. In orbit above Earth, the first human-designed ships with both adaptite hulls and council drive systems prepared for their maiden voyage. Captain Gregory Nelson would command the flagship, with Elizabeth Carter serving as Earth's ambassador to distant worlds. On the bridge, Gregory looked out at the stars. "Navigation. Set course for the Proxima Centauri station." "Course set, Captain," replied the navigator. "Estimated travel time. 3 hours." Gregory shook his head in amazement. Just a year ago, such a journey would have taken decades. Meanwhile, in the Vargan Empire's capital, Crithar met with his military advisors in a secure room. "The humans continue to surprise us," he admitted. "Their ships now patrol 3 disputed sectors, and conflicts have decreased by 60%. A Vargan general growled. "They gained too much influence too quickly. Should we reconsider our position?" Crithar paced the room, his claws clicking on the floor. "No. For now, we watch and learn. The humans have proven themselves resourceful. Perhaps there are other human ideas we might borrow." Back on Earth, Admiral Garcia stood in the United Nations Assembly, addressing representatives from every nation. "This is just the beginning," she said firmly. "The Adaptite Joint Research Initiative has already yielded new materials that could help us solve problems from climate change to disease prevention." She gestured to Kevin Lawson, who now led the initiative. "Our greatest strength was never the armor we created, but the way we think about problems." As Kevin took the podium, he thought back to that moment in the council chamber when he faced weapons that should have destroyed him. Instead, they had made him, and humanity, stronger. "We approached the universe differently," he told the assembly. "We saw connections where others saw only barriers. We turned challenges into opportunities." Outside the UN building, children played in a park where a small monument had been erected. It was a simple piece of adaptite, its blue lines glowing softly in the sunlight. A plaque beneath it read, The impossible is merely the unexplored. Across the stars, the other 17 council species watched the humans with renewed interest, wondering what other impossible things these newcomers might achieve next.